don't think I'm a narcissist. I'm just someone who wants all your time. I don't think I'm
So, Hannah, thank you so much for doing this with us today.
Pleasure.
How's your day been?
It's been pretty good. I've just had a lunch where we solved all the problems of the world, and that's always fun. And I'm taking a little break as of tomorrow, which is important to reflect and think about where I'm at.
Do you take breaks often?
No, this is quite a relentless job. So we work weeks and weekends, evenings, during the day. I do little things to try and keep myself a bit sane.
And there's a lot of people that think this job is demanding.
Look, I think it is a demanding job. I think anything, though, where you're trying to make a difference and you're trying to make change in the world or trying to make something better, it should be demanding. I think it comes down to that idea of public service. I'm not doing it for me, I'm doing it because I believe that we should do things in service of the greater good. That's both energising but also quite demanding.
Do you remember in the Changemakers program about how important it is to be present? Has that helped you with your leadership and your role as Mayor of Fremantle?
Yeah, it has. And I think, look, there was a period of time before I did this job and when I was just on council, but where I was doing a lot of leadership development work. And I think, in a way, that was all great preparation for this role. And a lot of that was about how do you, as a leader, stay in the present moment and not get caught up in all of the things that you have to do and the things that are worrying you and the things that you need to talk to other people about. There's so much stuff that you could just always be overwhelmed by that and never actually enjoy or be there for what you're doing. So I do try and practice really being in the present moment, whether that's in the council chamber and listening to the debate, trying to not think about what I'm going to say, but listen to what other people are saying, or if it's at community events, often if I have to go to something, I'm like, oh, I can't, I don't want to do one more thing. But then you get there and you connect with people and you're back in the moment and kind of back interested and curious and engaged. So I try and use that.
Being connected is super important to the community.
It's something that's quite special about Fremantle is that we're almost a community of choice. There's a lot of people who've chosen to be part of Fremantle or chosen to come to Fremantle to explore things that they care about, whether that's the creative industries, whether that's, marine economy stuff. They've chosen to come here because they think, oh, this is the best place for me to do that thing. And it's quite intoxicating in a way to kind of be able to tap into all of these communities of people who are just excited about.
Do you find yourself always getting out there to the community? Is community growth like the most important thing?
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting role in that people very much measure you by how much you're out there and you're seen at events and doing things and how much you put that on social media, which is, so your whole job could be telling people about what you're doing every day via social media. But it works on a lot of different levels. So a lot of stuff I work on, I would see as being the more strategic level stuff, like what is the ideal population for Fremantle in 10 years' time? How does our economy need to function in the sort of era where high streets don't work like they used to? So some of that more strategic stuff, but also right down to the real basics, like where should we put the 24-hour public toilet in Fremantle?
Yeah.
So it spans all of that.
Yeah.
I think you're very much measured, though, on the visibility and how much you're out there.
Do you have to be an extrovert to do what you do?
I don't think so. I don't think the previous mayor was an extrovert. And, I think, for him, he did some fantastic writing and stuff when he was in this role. So I think everyone can do it differently. It certainly helps with all the events and things that I'm energised by other people. But like anyone, I still need time out and I need quiet time and I need reflection time. And there are grumpy people. Like in any job, there are people who... Well, I think in any job where you're trying to do things in the world, there are people who are not going to be super happy about that. There's probably people at the other end of the spectrum as well who are going, you need to do more, you need to do faster, you need to do bigger, so you exist on a spectrum. And it's just a question of, do you listen to the sort of loud voices that maybe don't represent everyone, or do you just try and get a sort of sample of what people generally are thinking. I try to not spend too much time on the sort of in the dark recesses of Facebook and places like that, where people seem to have a lot of time to get very worked up about things.
Does that get to you?
Well, I just don't let it. I just don't go there. Like, I figure if it's a real world conversation that we need to have, we can have it in the real world, and it will come to me in the real world if someone can be bothered. So what you write on your computer at 2 a.m, you know, that's not a legitimate communication. And I'm pretty achievement orientated. I really like to be able to see tangible things happen in the world, and there's enough difficulty getting that to happen as it is. I just really try and focus on what's real, what I know, what we can get done, and just let the other stuff go past.
And is there like a difference being a woman as a leader?
Yeah, it's an interesting thing. Like, I mean, I've never been a man and a leader, so I can't necessarily compare. I think broadly speaking, people are more likely to attack women quite personally. And I see it with me, and I see it with other people in public life, where it's not just I don't like what you're doing, or I don't like that policy, or I don't like your position on this. It's I don't like you. And I don't know if that's because it's still an anomaly or something, you know, slightly threatening about women being high profile and in public life, that people feel like they have to say, I don't think, you know, you should be there, I don't like you personally. And that's challenging. And I think also, you know, in my role, I have to take a hard line sometimes. So, you know, presiding over the council chamber, for example, I do occasionally have to pull someone into line, and people can be very kind of, oh, we don't like women when they're, you know, hard line. There is a bit of stereotype threat, like you've got to be a bit, you know, curious, I think, sometimes when people react to you in certain ways and think, what is it that brings, you know, through your upbringing or your experience, your expectations of the world, that brings that additional layer of kind of animosity towards me, maybe because of my gender.
Do you have any lessons then for any women coming up to inspire them?
I mean, it's funny, I think there's been a lot of stuff over the last few years about finding your purpose, and in a way that can create pressure on people, like, do you know what your purpose is? You think, I don't know what my purpose is. But I think it is about finding things that you care strongly about that are bigger than yourself. Because if it's just about you, then if you come under attack, it feels like a personal attack. But if it's bigger things that you care about doing in the world, you feel more able, I think, to withstand any resistance that you get along the way. So, you know, find things that are bigger than you to care about in the world. Have some coping strategies. So for me, that's, you know, meditation, that's going for a swim, that's knowing when I need to kind of snap out of my day-to-day and go and be with people who energise me or just take me into a different headspace. But, you know, I have a huge amount of gratitude, and I try and focus on that gratitude.
That's
for
a big
my family
thing. Yeah.
And what they do and what they go through. There is no boundaries really between work and home in public life. So you end up, it's a hot mess of, you know, but we just find ways of connecting and enjoying that. And, you know, we get to go to incredible events and meet people we might not otherwise meet.
Issues that you see as mayor going forward, like, will it impact your life after your tenure's concluded?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, I've seen doing this role, and this might be a bit of psychological protection that I give myself, as a bit of an experiment in leadership. So having worked for a decade in leadership development before this, a lot of this stuff is theoretical, and then you try and do it in practice. So I hope that by taking that mindset to it, I keep growing and learning, and, you know, I don't kind of go, oh, you know, that this was the be-all and end-all of my life. It's a period that I've been learning more about leadership through doing a big public leadership role. One of the things people suffer from after they finish this kind of a role is that relevance deprivation thing. You're like, how come I don't have to get to have a say in things anymore? And I think you just find other ways of getting that through getting involved in organisations you care about, or joining boards of things that you think are important. So for me, it would be a case of, I think I'll always have some sort of role in public life. This is just, you know, this is an amazing kind of experience to learn more about it. So
I'm just curious on, if there's room for emotion within politics, and what role does that play in terms of the decision-making process?
The question about emotion and how that works in our our lives as public figures, you can't take emotion out of life. You know, everyone is experiencing emotions all the time. I think one of the things I try and foster is the ability to sit with strong emotions. Because a lot of strong emotions come into the council chamber, or people come to meet with us and they might be really angry about something, or really upset about something, or feel like there's a huge sense of injustice, or, you know, and you know, they've got a reason they feel like that. So I think being able to sit with those emotions is really important, and to be able to notice where your own emotions are in relation to that, and not allow those to overwhelm your decision making. I think you've got to be able to be a good observer of self and think, okay, I'm feeling a certain way. What's that? Where's that coming from? And how does it relate to this decision making? Is it actually, you know, I don't want to make decisions purely on emotion, but if I've got a strong feeling about it, I need to do the work to go, where's that coming from? You know, is that because my values are feeling a certain way around this, and, you know, I'm feeling affected by it? Or I don't think you can stray too far from your personal values in public life work. I think it would be very hard. I think you'd start to feel a lot of conflict. The things that I know that are important to me, and, you know, if they're not there, I feel uncomfortable, are achievement. So actually being able to get stuff, tangible things done in the world is really important to me. Why I'm in government, who knows, in a sense, because government is one of the most unwieldy things to work with in that regard. But we do get there eventually. In terms of my kind of human values, I mean, I think we've talked about a few of them, but around community and connection, that's a big one for me. Around empathy and being able to sort of sit with all the things that come up for people, you know, and understand maybe where they're coming from. That's a work in progress, I think, for most leaders.
And how has community connection really grown since COVID?
What's been really good with that is starting to have conversations about what are the things that we noticed through all that period that we now think we need to address in the longer term. So whether that's gentrification and access to housing, you know, we've had a massive housing crisis ever since, but the housing crisis now is, you know, just getting a little bit out of control. And we really look and say, well, how do we keep Freo if the people who make us Freo, the creatives, the students, the people who are just starting up in their enterprises or their careers, none of them can live here. And it's just a gentrified suburb for people who've got a lot of money, then how do we, you know, we're no different to them.
And is that the most important thing to people who live here?
I think it is. I mean, I think Freo, much as we sort of love our heritage buildings, we love the port, we love our beaches, we love our dogs, we love, you know, all these kind of aspects. But the human interaction piece is probably the number one thing about what makes Freo Freo.
Great, thank you so much for being here with us.
Absolute pleasure, and best of luck with Freo Filming and everything that you're doing.
Great, thank you so much.